Miami, Florida, February 1964. The Fifth Street Gym sits on the second floor of a building that's seen better days. You climb narrow concrete stairs that smell like sweat and old leather and decades of fighters who bled their dreams into this place. At the top, a heavy door with peeling paint. No sign, no announcement. Just a door that opens into a world most people never see. Inside, the gym is a furnace. South Florida heat mixed with body heat from a dozen fighters training at once. No air conditioning, just industrial fans that push hot air in circles. The walls are covered in faded fight posters: Patterson, Robinson, Marciano, legends who sweated in this same space. The ring in the center is worn canvas over springs that squeak with every movement. Speed bags rattle like machine guns. Heavy bags thud like heartbeats. The whole place pulses with a rhythm that's older than boxing itself. It's 2:00 the afternoon on a Tuesday. Most of the gym is empty. The serious morning crowd already left. The evening fighters haven't arrived yet. This is the dead zone. The quiet hours when real work happens. When champions are made in silence instead of spectacle. But today isn't quiet. Cassius Clay, not yet Muhammad Ali, still Cassius Clay to the world, is destroying a heavy bag like it owes him money. 22 years old, 6'3", 210 pounds of perfectly conditioned muscle. He's been at this for 90 minutes straight. Most fighters would be finished. Most fighters would be bent over, gasping, done. But Clay doesn't stop, never stops. His trainer, Angelo Dundee, watches from the corner, stopwatch in hand, counting rounds that don't exist. Clay wears simple red trunks, white hand wraps, no gloves, just his fists hammering leather. Sweat pours off him like rain. His body shines under the fluorescent lights, every muscle visible, every movement precise. He's not just hitting the bag, he's having a conversation with it. Jab, jab, right hand, left hook, each punch punctuated by breath. Sharp exhales that sound like words. I'm the greatest. Thud. I'm the prettiest. Thud. I'm too fast. Thud. I'm too strong. Thud. He's talking to himself, to the bag, to the universe, building belief with every punch. This is how Clay trains, not in silence like other fighters. He trains with his voice, announces his greatness to empty rooms until the world has no choice but to believe it too. In 11 days, he'll fight Sonny Liston for the heavyweight championship of the world. Liston, the monster, the ex-convict with fists like sledgehammers and a stare that makes grown men look away. Liston, who destroyed Floyd Patterson twice, who makes fighters quit before the fight even starts. The bookmakers have Clay as a 7-1 underdog. Most experts say he'll get killed. Say he's too young, too inexperienced, too much mouth, and not enough heart. But Clay doesn't see it that way. Clay sees destiny, sees inevitability, sees himself as champion before the fight even happens. That's what these training sessions are about. Not just physical preparation, mental construction, building the reality he wants punch by punch, word by word, until belief becomes truth. Angelo Dundee calls out, 2 minutes, Cassius. Then we break. Clay doesn't acknowledge, just keeps punching. The bag swings wildly, but Clay moves with it, anticipating its return, meeting it with combinations that blur together. Fast hands, faster feet, dancing around the bag like it's trying to hit back. This is what makes Clay different. He doesn't plant and throw. He flows, moves, creates angles that don't exist in traditional boxing. Heavyweight body with middleweight speed. Then the door opens. Not hard, not dramatic, just opens quietly. But something in the room shifts. The temperature drops. The rhythm breaks. Clay stops mid-combination. His fists freeze against the leather. Angelo looks up. The few other fighters in the gym stop what they're doing. Everyone feels it. That presence, that energy. Something important just walked in. Malcolm X stands in the doorway. Late 30 seconds. Tall, thin, wearing a dark suit despite the Miami heat. White shirt, thin black tie, glasses that catch the fluorescent light. He looks like a professor, like a preacher, like someone who speaks truth even when truth is dangerous. His face is calm, completely calm, but his eyes scan the room like he's calculating something, reading the space, reading the people, reading the power dynamics in a place where power is usually measured by who can hit harder. The gym goes silent, completely silent. The speed bags stop, the jumping ropes stop, even breathing seems to stop. Everyone knows who Malcolm X is. Everyone knows what it means when he shows up. The Nation of Islam, black pride, revolution, words that make white people nervous and black people excited and confused and scared all at once. Malcolm doesn't look at anyone else, just walks straight toward Clay. His dress shoes click on the concrete floor, each step purposeful, direct. He stops 10 feet from the heavy bag, 10 feet from Clay, close enough to talk, far enough to maintain respect. Clay turns fully now, breathing hard, sweat dripping from his chin, his hands still wrapped, his body still coiled with energy from the workout. He looks at Malcolm. Malcolm looks at him. Neither speaks. Just this moment of recognition, of two men seeing each other across different worlds that might be about to collide. Angelo Dundee steps forward, protective. Cassius is in the middle of training. We're preparing for... Malcolm raises one hand, gentle, not aggressive, just stopping the conversation before it starts. I know what he's preparing for. The whole world knows. His voice is quiet, but carries through the entire gym. I only need a moment. Clay wipes his face with a towel, throws it on the floor, nods to Angelo. It's okay. Let him speak. Malcolm takes one step closer, now 8 feet away, close enough that this becomes intimate, private, even though a dozen people are watching. He asks one question, just one question. But it's the kind of question that changes everything. Cassius, when you become champion, not if, when, who will you be? The question hangs in the humid air like smoke. Clay's face shifts. The practiced confidence wavers. Just for a second. Just enough to show that Malcolm hit something real. Something Clay's been avoiding. Something he's been punching away for months. I'll be champion, Clay says. But his voice isn't sure. Not the usual booming certainty. This is different. This is real conversation, not performance. Malcolm shakes his head slowly. That's what you'll be. I asked who you'll be. Silence. Clay stares at Malcolm. The gym feels smaller, hotter. Angelo watches nervous. He knows this conversation, knows where it's going. He's been trying to keep Clay away from the Nation of Islam, trying to keep religion out of boxing, trying to keep his fighter focused on the fight, not on politics and faith and revolution. But you haven't seen the biggest surprise yet, because what Malcolm does next isn't recruit, isn't preach, isn't give answers. Malcolm walks to the heavy bag, places one hand on it, the leather still warm from Clay's fists, still swinging slightly from the last combination. He looks at the bag, then at Clay. You've been beating this bag for 90 minutes, Malcolm says, telling it who you are, telling it you're the greatest, the prettiest, the fastest. He pauses. But this bag doesn't care who you are. It doesn't fight back, doesn't judge, doesn't have an opinion. Clay's jaw tightens. Not anger, something else. Discomfort, like Malcolm's reading his thoughts. In 11 days, Malcolm continues, you step in a ring with a man who does care. A man who will try to destroy not just your body, but your spirit, your belief. Everything you've been building here in this gym. He taps the bag once. And when that happens, when the real fight comes, the world will ask you to be someone they want. The humble Negro who's grateful for the opportunity. The good fighter who knows his place. the entertainer who makes white people comfortable. Clay's breathing changes, faster, shallower, like Malcolm's words are landing harder than any punch Liston could throw. So my question, Malcolm says, is simple. When the world tells you who to be, will you have the courage to tell them who you actually are? The weight of that question fills the gym. Clay opens his mouth, closes it. No quick answer, no confident proclamation. This isn't about boxing anymore. This is about identity, about power, about what happens when you win, and the world expects you to shrink instead of grow. Clay looks down at his hands, at the white wraps covering his knuckles, stained with sweat and blood from months of training. These hands are about to change his life, about to make him champion. But Malcolm's asking what happens after, what comes next, who he becomes when the fight is over and the real challenge begins. Wait, don't miss this detail, because Clay's response doesn't come immediately, doesn't come with his usual swagger. Instead, he walks to the ring, climbs through the ropes, stands in the center of the canvas, the place where he'll face Liston, the place where everything changes. Malcolm follows, doesn't climb into the ring, just stands at the edge, watching, waiting, giving Clay space to think, to process, to decide. Clay starts moving, not punching, just moving. Footwork, the shuffle that will become famous. Feet gliding across canvas like he's floating. His body knows this rhythm, knows this dance. Boxing is clear, simple. You train hard, you fight, you win or lose. But identity, faith, who you are when no one's watching, that's harder. That's the real fight. I've been Cassius Clay my whole life, he says finally, voice quiet. Different than the public Clay. This is private Clay, real Clay, Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. Named after a white abolitionist my daddy thought was a hero. My parents gave me that name thinking it would help me, thinking if I carried a white man's name, the world would treat me better. He stops moving, stands in the center of the ring, looks at Malcolm. Has it? Malcolm asks. Gentle, not accusatory, just curious. Clay laughs, but it's not his usual laugh, not the confident, booming laugh from press conferences. This laugh is bitter, sad. I'm 22 years old, Olympic gold medalist, undefeated, about to fight for the championship. And when I walk down the street in Louisville, Kentucky, my hometown, I still can't eat at half the restaurants. Still get called boy by men half my age. Still see the look in white people's eyes when I walk past, like I'm dangerous, like I'm less. Malcolm nods, says nothing, just lets Clay talk. I thought boxing would change that, Clay continues. Thought if I was good enough, fast enough, great enough, they'd have to respect me, have to see me as equal. He shakes his head. But it doesn't matter how great I am. To them, I'm still just a Negro in shorts, entertaining them, making them money, playing a role. So who do you want to be? Malcolm asks again. Same question, different context. Clay's hands clench into fists. Not anger, determination. I want to be free, want to wake up and not have to shrink myself to make other people comfortable. Want to speak truth without worrying if it'll hurt my career. Want to be proud of who I am, where I come from, what I believe. Then be that, Malcolm says simply. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. Malcolm's voice hardens slightly. Not harsh, firm. You think Sonny Liston is the real fight? He's not. He's just a man. You'll beat him because you're faster, smarter, better prepared. The real fight comes after. When they want you to smile and say thank you and act like winning, that title changes who you are in their eyes. When they want you to be the champion they're comfortable with, instead of the champion you actually are. This is the exact moment everything changed, because Clay stops moving completely, stops performing. The persona drops. This is just Cassius Clay, A two-year-old black man from Louisville, Kentucky, trying to figure out who he is in a country that doesn't want him to figure it out. I'm scared, Clay admits, voice barely above a whisper. Not of Liston. I know I'll beat Liston. I'm scared of what comes after. Scared of making the wrong choice. Scared of losing everything I worked for. Boxing is all I have, all I'm good at. If I say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, they'll take it away. The press, the boxing commission, everyone. Malcolm climbs into the ring now, stands facing Clay, eye to eye. Two men, just two men having a conversation about fear and faith and freedom. They can't take who you are, Malcolm says. They can take titles, take money, take opportunities, but they can't take your truth, can't take your identity, can't take your faith. He pauses. Unless you give it to them. Clay stares at Malcolm, processing, wrestling with something deep. I've been reading, Clay says, about Islam, about the nation, about what you teach, about black pride, self-respect, not begging white people to accept us, but building our own power, our own institutions, our own identity. He takes a breath. It makes sense. More sense than anything I've heard in church. More sense than what I was taught growing up. That we should wait, should be patient, should hope white people change their hearts. And, Malcolm prompts, and I want that. Want to be part of something bigger than boxing, bigger than me. Want to be part of a movement, a revolution. Want to matter beyond what I do in the ring. Then do it. But what if I'm wrong? What if joining the nation destroys my career? What if... Malcolm holds up his hand. Cassius, listen to me. I can't tell you what to do. This isn't about me recruiting you. This isn't about the nation gaining a famous athlete. This is about you deciding who you want to be when the world is watching. He lets that sink in. You said you want to be free. Freedom isn't about making safe choices. Freedom is about making true choices, even when they're hard, even when they cost you something. The gym is still silent. Everyone watching, listening, understanding they're witnessing something more important than training, more important than boxing. This is a young man standing at a crossroads. One path leads to fame and fortune and playing the game. The other leads to truth and uncertainty and becoming who he really is. You won't believe this, but Clay's face changes. The fear doesn't disappear, but something else appears underneath it. Resolve. Certainty. Like a decision is being made in real time. When I beat Liston, Clay says slowly, I'm going to tell the world who I am. Not who they want me to be, who I actually am. I'm going to announce that I'm a Muslim, that I've joined the Nation of Islam, that Cassius Clay is a slave name, and I don't want it anymore. Malcolm's expression doesn't change, doesn't smile, doesn't celebrate, just nods once. And then what? Then I deal with whatever comes. The anger, the backlash, the people who say I'm throwing my career away. I deal with it because living a lie is worse than any punishment they can give me. They'll call you a traitor, Malcolm warns. Say you've been brainwashed. Say you're anti-American, anti-white, dangerous. They'll try to destroy you. Let them try. And there it is. The confidence returning. But different now. Not performance confidence. Real confidence. The kind that comes from knowing who you are and being willing to stand on it. I've been called worse by better people. I've survived Louisville. Survived being told I wasn't good enough, smart enough, human enough. I'll survive this too. Malcolm extends his hand. Clay takes it. They shake. Not a casual handshake. A firm grip. Of acknowledgement. A moment of mutual respect between two men about to walk difficult paths. One more thing, Malcolm says. When you become champion, remember that the title doesn't define you. You define the title. Don't let them turn you into their symbol. They're acceptable black athlete. They're proof that the system works. Be yourself. Completely. Unapologetically. That's how you win the real fight. Clay nods. Understanding settling deep. Malcolm turns to leave. Walks toward the door. His dress shoes clicking on concrete again. But before he reaches it, Clay calls out, "Malcolm." Malcolm turns. "Thank you for asking, for giving me space to figure it out, for not telling me what to do." Malcolm smiles. Small. Real. "You didn't need me to tell you. You already knew. You just needed permission to know it." Then he's gone. Door closing behind him. The gym slowly comes back to life. Speed bags start rattling again. Fighters return to their work, but something fundamental has shifted. Everyone in that gym knows they just witnessed something more important than any training session. They witnessed a young man choosing truth over comfort, identity over acceptance, freedom over fear. But what's truly shocking is that conversation lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes that changed the trajectory of sports history, changed cultural history, changed everything. Angelo Dundee walks over to the ring, climbs through the ropes, stands next to Clay. He's been listening to everything, knows what it means, knows the storm that's coming. "You sure about this?" Angelo asks. Voice quiet, concerned, not judgmental, just a trainer worried about his fighter. Clay turns to him. The swagger is back, but it's different now. Deeper, real, not performance, just truth. "Angelo, I've never been more sure about anything in my life. It's going to be hard, Cassius. Harder than fighting Liston. They're going to come after you with everything they have. Let them come." Clay starts moving again. Footwork, the shuffle. But now it means something different. Now it's not just boxing technique. It's freedom, expression, identity. "I'm done being who they want me to be. Done shrinking myself. Done apologizing for being great. If they can't handle me being me, that's their problem, not mine." Angelo watches him, sees the change, sees the man emerging from the athlete. He knows there's no going back from this. No way to put this genie back in the bottle. But he also knows Clay is right. Has to be. Because living a lie to make other people comfortable is no way to live at all. Clay hits the heavy bag again, but different now. Not practicing, declaring. Each punch a statement, each combination a proclamation. "This is who I am. This is what I believe. This is how I'm choosing to live." 11 days later, Clay defeats Sonny Liston, becomes heavyweight champion of the world. The press conference the next day, he announces everything. His faith, his new name, his association with Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam. The world explodes. Exactly like Malcolm predicted, the backlash is immediate, vicious. They call him a traitor, a radical, a threat. The Boxing Commission tries to take his title. The press tries to destroy him. Former fans turn on him. Death threats pour in. But Clay, now Muhammad Ali, stands firm, stands on who he is, stands on the decision he made in that Miami gym when Malcolm X asked him one question that cut through everything else. "Who will you be?" And Ali answered with his whole life, not just with words, with action, with courage, with the willingness to lose everything, to gain the one thing that matters most, the freedom to be himself. Years later, after Malcolm's assassination, after Ali's exile from boxing, after the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement and everything that came after, a reporter asks Ali about that day in the gym, about Malcolm's visit, about what they talked about. Ali's response is simple, direct, true. "Malcolm didn't tell me what to do. He asked me who I wanted to be, and that's the only question that ever mattered. Not who could I beat, not how famous could I get, not how much money could I make, just who did I want to be when I looked at myself in the mirror. Malcolm gave me permission to answer that honestly. Everything else came from that. The reporter follows up. Do you regret it? Everything that happened because of that choice? Ali doesn't hesitate. I regret nothing. I lost my title, lost years of my career, lost money and opportunities and the prime of my fighting life. But I never lost myself. I never became who they wanted me to be instead of who I actually was. That's worth more than any championship, more than any amount of money, more than anything they could have given me. That 7-minute conversation in a Miami gym in 1964 wasn't about boxing, wasn't about religion, wasn't even really about Malcolm X or the Nation of Islam. It was about a young man standing at the most important crossroads of his life and choosing truth over comfort, identity over acceptance, freedom over fear. Malcolm X didn't convert Muhammad Ali that day. He liberated him, gave him permission to be himself, completely, unapologetically, no matter the cost. And that liberation changed sports, changed culture, changed what it meant to be an athlete with a platform and a voice and a choice about how to use them. So here's the question for you. Who are you when no one's watching? When the world isn't asking you to be anyone? When you strip away the expectations and the performance and the person you think you're supposed to be? Who are you really? And more importantly, do you have the courage to be that person when the world is watching? When being yourself might cost you something? When choosing truth might mean losing comfort? Because that's the real fight, not against opponents, against conformity, against fear, against the pressure to shrink yourself, to make others comfortable. Muhammad Ali understood that. Malcolm X understood that. And in that 7-minute conversation in a sweaty Miami gym, they gave each other and eventually the world permission to understand it too. The gym went silent when Malcolm walked in. But when he left, the silence was different. Not empty, full, pregnant with possibility, with the understanding that something important just happened, that a young man just chose freedom, and that choice would echo for decades. Who will you be? That's the question. The only question that matters. Answer it honestly. Answer it courageously. Answer it completely. That's how you win the real fight.